Most whiskey rankings are written by people who've never actually sat down and tasted all of them back to back. Tonight, that changes. We're going brand by brand, the big names, the legends, the overhyped bottles sitting on every bar shelf in America. And we're ranking them honestly by what matters most: style, flavor, and whether they're actually worth your money. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which bottles deserve a place in your cabinet and which ones are just marketing wrapped in glass. We're covering bourbon, Tennessee whiskey, rye, and a few bottles that blur every line in between. Stay with me because the rankings are going to surprise you, especially the ones at the top. The tier system. Before we get into the bottles, here's how this ranking works. We're judging every brand across three things: flavor complexity, consistency, and value. This isn't about price alone. A $50 bottle that punches like a $200 bottle ranks higher than an overpriced prestige pour that coasts on its reputation. We're also being clear about style. American whiskey isn't one thing. Bourbon, Tennessee whiskey, and rye are genuinely different products. And a great bourbon doesn't automatically make it better than a great rye. We'll call out the style for each one so you know what you're actually comparing. There are 7 tiers. Bottom shelf, below average, decent, solid, great, exceptional, and legendary. We're starting at the bottom and working our way up. Bottom shelf. The brands that belong there. Let's get the painful part out of the way first. Evan Williams Black Label sits at the bottom of this list not because it's undrinkable. It's not. But because it represents the floor of what bourbon can be. It's a product of Heaven Hill Distillery, which is capable of far better, and the Black Label version tastes like it was designed to be mixed and forgotten. Very thin on the palate. Corn-forward sweetness with almost no supporting structure. If you're mixing it with Coke, fine. But if you're pouring it neat and calling it bourbon appreciation, we need to talk. Old Crow is a historic name attached to a product that no longer deserves it. This was once a well-respected label. Today it's a budget pour with a harsh finish and very little of the vanilla caramel depth that makes bourbon enjoyable in the first place. It exists because the name still sells. Don't let the name fool you. Here's the part nobody talks about. Some of these bottom-shelf brands are distilled at the exact same facilities as bottles that cost 3 times as much. The difference is age, barrel selection, and what gets filtered out or left in. That's not a coincidence, it's a business model. Below average, fine for what they are, but know what you're getting. Jim Beam. White Label is the world's best-selling bourbon, and I understand why. It's approachable. It's everywhere. It's cheap. But approachable isn't the same as good. This is a 4-year bourbon with a straightforward sweetness, light oak, and almost no complexity beyond the first sip. It's the bourbon equivalent of white bread. It functions perfectly, but it doesn't excite anybody. That said, Jim Beam isn't trying to excite you. It's trying to be everywhere at once, and at that mission, it succeeds completely. Jack Daniel's Tennessee whiskey is technically not a bourbon. Jack uses the Lincoln County process, which filters the new make spirit through sugar maple charcoal before it goes into the barrel. That process mellows it significantly, creating the signature smooth, slightly smoky sweetness that's made Jack the most recognizable American whiskey on the planet. So why is it below average on this list? Because smooth isn't the same as complex. Jack tastes the same on sip 1 as it does on sip 10. There's very little development. For the price and the global reputation, the flavor delivery just doesn't match the hype. We'll get to the part that changes everything in just a moment, because Tennessee whiskey done right is a completely different story. But first, let's move up the ladder. Decent, worth having around, but not the bottle you reach for first. Bulleit Bourbon has one of the most recognizable bottles in the business. That frontier-style flask shape practically jumps off the shelf. And the liquid inside is genuinely decent. Bulleit uses a high rye mash bill, which gives it a spicier edge than most mainstream bourbons. You'll get pepper, dried fruit, a hint of tobacco with the classic vanilla finish underneath. It's a well-made, well-balanced bottle that does everything competently. The reason it sits in decent rather than higher is that Bulleit has benefited enormously from its branding and the cocktail bar scene. It's a craft-looking bottle that's produced at very large scale by Diageo, one of the biggest spirits conglomerates on Earth. That's not a crime, but the liquid doesn't quite justify the premium people pay for it. Maker's Mark sits right alongside Bulleit in this tier for similar reasons. Makers is a wheat-forward bourbon. They swap out rye in the mash bill for red winter wheat, which creates a softer, sweeter, rounder profile. You get caramel, honey, light baking spice, and a genuinely pleasant finish. It's a reliable pour. The signature red wax seal makes it one of the most gifted bottles in America. But here's the honest take. Maker's Mark has been the same bottle for so long that it stopped being interesting. The standard expression is fine. The Maker's 46 and the cask strength expressions are noticeably better. If you're buying Maker's, go past the standard and spend a few dollars more. Solid. Now we're talking. This is where the list gets interesting. Wild Turkey 101 is the most underrated bourbon on this entire list, and it's not close. This is 101 proof, high rye bourbon that has been made the same way by the same master distiller family for decades. Jimmy Russell has been at Wild Turkey since 1954. That is not a typo. That is 70-plus years of institutional knowledge poured into every bottle. Wild Turkey 101 is bold. It's got a real bite, a deep oakiness, and a complexity that genuinely improves with every sip. Vanilla, butterscotch, clove, and a long, dry finish. At roughly $30 a bottle, this is one of the most honest expressions of what American bourbon can be. The only reason it's not higher is that the rough edges, while part of its charm, keep it just outside the top tier. Knob Creek Small Batch is where Jim Beam gets serious. This is the same distillery that makes Beam White Label, but this product is aged 9 years, bottled at 100 proof, and given actual care in the barrel selection process. The difference in the glass is dramatic. Rich, thick mouthfeel, toasted oak, dark caramel, dried cherry, and a finish that lingers in all the right ways. Knob Creek proves what's possible when a distillery slows down and lets the spirit actually develop. Woodford Reserve is the bottle people reach for when they want to look like they know what they're doing. And to Woodford's credit, the liquid mostly backs that up. Woodford is a pot still bourbon, triple distilled in copper pot stills, which is unusual in American whiskey production. The result is a denser, more layered spirit with chocolate, dark fruit, toasted grain, and a spiced finish. It's genuinely excellent as a sipping bourbon. The reason it's in solid rather than great is that it sits at a price point where the competition gets very, very stiff. Great, bottles that earn their reputation. Wait, before we go further, you need to know this. The bottles in this tier aren't just better than what came before. They're the ones where the experience of tasting them actually changes how you think about American whiskey. These are the bottles that convert people. Buffalo Trace has won more awards than any other American distillery, and tasting the flagship expression, you understand why. Buffalo Trace bourbon hits a near-perfect balance between approachability and complexity. Sweet corn and vanilla on the entry, then a wave of anise, dark cherry, and subtle oak on the mid-palate, finishing clean with a warmth that doesn't overwhelm. It's a bourbon that works at every level. Neat, on the rocks, in a Manhattan, in an old-fashioned. And it costs around $30 a bottle. The only reason Buffalo Trace isn't higher on this list is its legendary scarcity. The flagship bottle is fine, but the real glory of the Buffalo Trace product line, Eagle Rare, Blanton's, E.H. Taylor, Weller, is largely unavailable at retail unless you know someone or live near the right store. Elijah Craig's Small Batch is Heaven Hill's finest standard production bourbon, and it is seriously good. Named for the Baptist preacher who many credit with inventing bourbon, though that history is disputed, Elijah Craig's Small Batch is aged a minimum of 8 years and delivers a flavor profile that's textbook bourbon done right. Brown sugar, vanilla custard, oak, light pepper, and a remarkably smooth finish for the proof. At roughly $35, it outperforms bottles twice its price. This is the one you bring to dinner when you want to impress someone without spending $100. Michter's US 1 Small Batch bourbon represents a different school of American whiskey philosophy, the focus on barrel quality over mash bill tradition. Michter's ages their bourbon until it's ready, not until a predetermined number of years is hit. The result is a rich, nuanced pour with butterscotch, spice, and a warmth that builds slowly rather than hitting you over the head. It's not cheap, around $50, but every dollar is justified. Exceptional. The bottles people wait in line for. Blanton's original single barrel is the bottle that started the American single barrel movement when it launched in 1984. And it remains one of the finest expressions of what a single barrel bourbon can be. Every bottle of Blanton's is drawn from a single barrel, which means every bottle tastes slightly different. The standard expression tends toward honey, orange peel, vanilla bean, and a spiced oak finish that's remarkably long and satisfying. The famous sphere stopper on top, with its tiny horse and jockey figure, is the most recognizable closure in American whiskey. Finding Blanton's at retail price around $60 to $70 is nearly impossible in most parts of the country. Secondary market prices have gone insane, but if you can find it at MSRP, buy it without hesitation. Four Roses Single Barrel is the best bourbon most people haven't explored deeply enough. Four Roses is unique among Kentucky distilleries. They use 2 different mash bills and 5 different yeast strains, creating 10 distinct recipes they can blend or bottle individually. The single barrel expression showcases one of those recipes in full concentration, and the result is extraordinary. Floral, fruity, and spicy in a combination you simply don't find in other bourbons. Rose petal, red berries, cinnamon, and vanilla. It's a genuinely distinctive bottle in a market where everything tends to taste like a variation on the same theme. Coming up, the final tier. 2 bottles. The ones that, if you've tasted them, you already know exactly where this is going. Legendary American whiskey at its absolute peak. Pappy Van Winkle's Family Reserve is the most famous bourbon in the world, and the reputation is not entirely hype. Pappy is a wheated bourbon. Wheat instead of rye in the mash bill, like Maker's Mark, but aged far longer, from 15 to 23 years. What extended age in a Kentucky warehouse does to a wheated bourbon is genuinely remarkable. The spirit that comes out after 20 years in new charred oak has been transformed into something that barely resembles the entry-level whiskeys we started this list with. The 15-year expression delivers an almost impossible combination of sweetness and depth, dried apricot, dark toffee, leather, vanilla bean, and a finish that lasts minutes, not seconds. The 20-year takes everything up another level, adding a complexity and integration that makes you understand why people pay $500, $1,000, $2,000 for a bottle on the secondary market. Here's the honest reality check. You almost certainly cannot get Pappy at retail. Buffalo Trace, which produces it, releases tiny allocations once a year and most bottles go to restaurant and bar accounts. But Pappy's existence matters because it defines the ceiling. It proves what Kentucky bourbon, given the right wheat bill, the right barrels, and enough time, can become. George T. Stagg, part of Buffalo Trace's antique collection, is, on any objective measure, the most technically impressive whiskey produced in America. This is a barrel-strength, uncut, unfiltered bourbon released once per year, typically coming in somewhere between 120 and 145 proof depending on the year. At full proof, Stagg is almost intimidatingly dense. A freight train of dark chocolate, molasses, espresso, leather, and oak that evolves for 20, 30, 40 minutes in the glass. With a few drops of water, it opens into something almost incomprehensibly complex. Whiskey critics who have tasted everything, and we mean everything, Scotch, Irish, Japanese, frequently name George T. Stagg as one of the finest whiskeys on earth, full stop. Not one of the finest American whiskeys. One of the finest whiskeys, period. Like Pappy, finding it at retail requires patience, relationships, and luck. But it represents the absolute pinnacle of what American distilling can achieve. Here's what this list actually tells you. American whiskey is not one thing. It's a spectrum, from 4-year mass market pours that exist to be mixed and forgotten, all the way up to multi-decade expressions that redefine what a spirit can taste like. If you're building a cabinet right now, the 3 bottles that give you the most whiskey for your money are Buffalo Trace, Elijah Craig Small Batch, and Wild Turkey 101. All of them sit between $30 and $40 and outperform bottles at twice their price. If you want to step up and spend a little more, Four Roses Single Barrel and Michter's US 1 are the 2 bottles that will change how you think about bourbon. And if you ever get a chance to try Blanton's, George T. Stagg, or Pappy at a bar or a tasting, you take it. You don't hesitate. Those bottles exist to remind you what's possible. American whiskey has never been more exciting than it is right now. The distilleries are more experimental, the age statements are getting more serious, and the craft movement has pushed the big houses to raise their game. The best is genuinely getting better. If this list shifted your thinking on any of these bottles, or if you think we got something badly wrong, drop it in the comments. The whiskey community on YouTube is one of the best on the platform. And these debates are the best part, and if you found this useful, hit the like button and subscribe. It genuinely helps Good to Grub keep making content like this.